Yeah, it's a funny business. They've come down here.
Okay, my name's Michelle. I am an Australian citizen, but I have been part of the London community since 2006. Still very much a part of Australia though, but I also have a unique perspective, as most of the other people here do, in that we get to see how Australia is looked at by the rest of the world because of what we are doing in our detention centres. We also have different news sources that actually tell us what's going on. Unlike the Australian population, which at the moment is being gagged bit by the immigration department and can't actually find out what's happening with the boats, what's happening in international waters, with Australian Defence Forces actually breaching Indonesian space. We are also getting to hear things that the Australian population just simply isn't. We hear that there are 67 detainees that have been badly hurt. Some have had to be shipped to Australia for head injuries caused by bludgeoning objects or by machetes, and we've also had one unfortunate death. Now, this has happened on Australia's watch and is supposedly under Australia's care. It doesn't matter who started this or not. It should never have been allowed to be happening in the first place. And that's why we've had so many people take the time and effort to come out, even though we're not in Australia, but these Australian issues do matter to everyone here. I think there was something like 750 that were organised over 36 hours. This is just the most recent one. It was probably be one of the last ones for this round, but I imagine that this type of pressure and visibility is not going to go away. There's going to be a march in March, for example. I know that's going to be quite large in Australia as well. Again, showing Australian citizens' dissatisfaction with the way this government is currently going.
Right, we will stand, we will fight. Freedom of movement is everybody's right. We will stand, we will fight.
Freedom of movement is everybody's right. We will stand. We will fight.
Freedom of movement is everybody's right. We will stand and we will fight. Freedom of movement.
At the same time, a month before this happened, G4S guards had killed a man called, Jimmy Mabanga, was killed on board an aircraft, a deportation aircraft. The guards responsible for him were G4S guards. So eventually we've organised a coalition of groups, people who work on Palestine and people who work on migrant and refugee issues. And we campaign against giving tenders and to G4S, and we campaign to highlight what sort of company G4S is. G4S, in fact, has an appalling reputation throughout the world. They are being investigated for fraud in this country. In South Africa, they had to be taken away from a prison because of the abuses of prisoners in that prison. And now, today, we hear that they were the guards at Manus Island, where Reza Barati was killed. We understand that they were responsible people. The buck stops with G4S. Our public services are being tendered out, contracted out to a company like this. I think it's a disgrace that our world is not being secured by this company. It is being undermined. That the Australian government has shown contempt for the most vulnerable people by, in fact, contracting out to G4S this guard duty. We know what G4S is capable of. It has a deeply flawed reputation. The Australian government shows what they think of migrants, refugees and asylum seekers, people who are the most vulnerable in the world, by giving them to G4S. I understand they've now sacked G4S, but it's too late.
Got dual nationality. My mother was Australian, and last year I was in Australia, and the politicians kept going on about these boat people coming to Australia and how they had to stop them. And for me that was a bit of an irony, because I thought most Australians were boat people. Certainly from my family they were. If you go just over that way to Whitechapel, my great-great-great-grandmother was taken aged 13 on the first fleet to Australia for stealing a bonnet and shawl from her employer. She worked for a clogmaker, and taken as a convict as a 13-year-old girl on the first fleet. The respectable side of my Australian family came in a ship from Stranraer called the Amity, now famous for Amity Point, where it sank. That's the Ralstons. How respectable he was, I don't know, because Robert Ralston had about 17 kids by, I think, 5 different women. And then there were the Smiths, who came in 1852. They were all boat people. And I also was surprised to hear the politicians saying last summer about criminal elements coming to Australia, because Tony Benn tells a story about when he came here to get his visa to go to Australia. He was going down the form, he was answering all the questions correctly, and then they came to the one which said, "Have you got any criminal convictions?" And Tony said, "Oh no, is that still a requirement?" So I'm trying to put the light side of it, but the tragic side is people dying, drowning, being kept in concentration camps. On the way to Australia last year, we stopped off at Singapore. People piled up high in little boxes, and then when we got to Australia, you've got this mass expanse of land, people living in single bungalows. That's a geopolitical reality which will not survive this century. Australia has got to open up its borders, it's got to share what it has with other people in the world. So I'm here today because people are being persecuted, people are in dire straits, are being prevented from getting to Australia, they're being kept in terrible conditions. They are resisting, and we need to show support for their resistance, and we need to encourage our friends in Australia to support these boat people today who want to come in to Australia. Okay? These are people fleeing often from persecution themselves, and Australia needs to open up its arms. People should be allowed to live wherever they want, provided they don't take an army with them. That's what my mother said, and that's what I still say today.